Hello, welcome to the Dreamers Podcast. I'm your host, Annalise Wealth, and I am so excited as this is my first solo episode of 2023. I can't even believe that I'm saying that. But today on this episode, we are going to talk about 7 things that you can do this month to start the year on the right track financially. It's early in the year. This is the perfect time to set the year on the right track. Let's get right into it. Number 1, make sure that you take the time to review 2022 if you haven't done that already. How did you perform financially compared to your goals? Did you hit your financial goals, the ones that you set for yourself? What worked? What didn't work? What do you want to do differently? What are some of the lessons that you learned that you can implement this year? For me, in 2023, I learned to simplify things. I still believe in budgeting, but now I like to set high-level goals, and my budget categories are broader. Even though I still believe in having a detailed budget, especially earlier on, I've moved away from basically looking at every single budget category and tracking the expenses and comparing it to the budget. What I'm focusing on is, did I hit the financial goals this month? Did I stay within the overall budget? I'm making sure now that I'm staying within the budget in each category, as opposed to making sure that I'm spending the right amount in each budget category. As long as I'm able to build my wealth building goals, I'm good. Number 2, write down 3 to 5 financial goals for this year. Be as specific as possible and make sure that those goals are measurable and they're time bound. I'm not using the SMART model right here saying that they have to be attainable. Let's not worry about the goal being attainable right now. Let's just focus on the fact that you can measure them, they're specific enough, and you can put a timeline to them. When goals are too broad, it's easy to lose track of them. When we don't set a specific time, then we have no rush. We're not eager to work towards anything. And if our goals are not measurable, then how do we know that we're hitting them? It's important to make sure that you sit down and think about some financial goals for this year. 3 to 5, I think, is a good number, and make sure that they hit those 3 aspects. And then you might want to think about a reward. How are you going to reward yourself for hitting those goals? Number 3, create or update your estate plan. If you don't have an estate plan, which is essentially a plan for what happens to your assets if you're not here anymore. But an estate plan is beyond that. It also includes having a will, which is essentially your last directive. It's more than just financial assets. It's also directives for your children, if you have children, or anything that you want to leave to your loved ones, or anything that you want to communicate to your loved ones in case of your eventual passing. I know that most people feel weird thinking about that. They don't even want to worry about estate plan. But one thing's for sure is we all eventually will pass. And so having a plan to prepare for the worst is a gift to your loved ones. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure that you take the time to do that this year. That includes reviewing and updating beneficiaries on all of your accounts. That's not just your bank account, it's your investment accounts, your insurance, life insurance, trust, any type of account or anything that you have that is requiring you to select a beneficiary. And also make sure that your beneficiaries are not minors, because it comes with a whole set of complications like probate, which is a process that you don't want to go through. If you have minor children, you need to have an adult beneficiary or a trust beneficiary, another entity that is anyone but your minor children. Of course, take the time to think about this and find the right beneficiaries. But make sure that you review them, make sure that you get that updated. It's very important. If you don't have one yet, you need one. You need a will. You need to give directives to your loved ones of what to do if you're not here. And you can include so many different things in your will. It's more than just assets, as I mentioned before. If you have kids, how you want that handled. If you have last wishes, funeral arrangements, so many different things. Make sure that you have that figured out by the end of this month, or at least start the process. And then another step, especially if you have sizable assets, if you have descendants, you might want to think about having a revocable trust. A trust is very important, especially if you're a parent, because in a trust, you can dictate how you want your assets to be transitioned to your heirs. If you have kids and you have a sizable estate, you don't necessarily want like an 18-year-old to inherit a whole lot of money at once. In a trust, the trust gives you the flexibility to plan it out. You can start at 18, go to 25, 35. That gives you a lot more flexibility. Again, if you have minor children, you don't want them to be beneficiaries on any of your accounts because it'll just complicate the process. Making sure that you have a trust will help you bypass the probate process. Probate is, depending on the state, it's definitely a time-consuming process that will make a difficult time for your loved one even harder. They're going to be additional time in court, legal fees. It's expensive and it's time-consuming. You don't want your loved ones to go through that. In your estate plan, you also want to have a durable power of attorney. Most people don't know this, but if you currently have a power of attorney in place, if you were to become, God forbid, incapacitated, that would be invalid. You want to have a durable power of attorney so that if something like that were to happen to you where you wouldn't pass, but you would basically not be able to make certain decisions for yourself, you have someone designated to do that for you. You also want to make sure that you have medical directives, which is going to basically tell your loved ones how you want to handle certain medical situations so that they don't have to make that decision for you. It's also a good idea to have a healthcare proxy. Also, you want to have a list of assets. That'll be easier for your loved ones to figure out where everything is if you have a list of assets. And that can be included as part of your will or as part of your estate documents. Another thing that you want to think about is having a pour over will. Because sometimes if you have a trust, maybe you forgot to transfer some assets, some property over to the trust. The pour over will state how or which beneficiaries should receive that property or that assets that's not included in the trust. All right, so those are definitely some of the things that you want to look at this month, beginning of the year. Hopefully you can have them implemented by this month, but if not, you should at least get the process started. It's very important. Number 4, life insurance. Beginning of the year, figure out whether you have the right amount of life insurance. A good rule of thumb is 10 to 15 times your expenses, and that will help your loved ones be taken care of if something were to happen to you. If you have a job, I always say, get some life insurance outside of your job. Well, first of all, the life insurance that you get from your job is usually not enough. So you would have to purchase additional insurance through your job. But instead of doing that, how about you go and purchase your own policy? Because guess what? You might not be at the same job next year. You don't want your life insurance coverage to lapse at any point in time. And also, the older you get, the more expensive it's going to be for you to get life insurance. Why don't you just go ahead and do that now? Go get your own policy. And depending on your age, you might be able to get it for $20, $25, $30 a month. Again, the older you get, the more expensive it's going to be. As far as the type of life insurance are concerned, again, this is not financial advice, but I would just say don't treat life insurance as an investment. I know that's a narrative that is often pushed out there, but that's not what life insurance is, or that's not the purpose of it. There's different types, obviously, of life insurance. There's term, which is really just to protect your loved ones if you were to pass, but term as an expiration date. Typically, you would get term life insurance until your kids are a certain age or your dependents are a certain age, and then after that, the term would expire. There's also other types of life insurance like universal, guaranteed protection, whole life. There's like a whole range, but those other more complicated policies are not investment. They are for tax reduction. Again, depending on your situation, you might want to look into it or not, but most people are fine with term. As you become wealthy, that's when you should start looking into other policies to help you reduce your tax burden. And the reason being that if you're not wealthy, you should probably just get a term policy and invest the difference. Again, this is not financial advice. Number 5, review your income streams. I know you've heard this before. Most billionaires have at least 7 streams of income. I'm not saying you should have 7 streams of income today, but how many income streams do you have? How many stable income streams do you have? You may not get to 7 income streams this year, but how safe is that one that you have? Those 2 that you have? And can you create a plan to secure one more? Which other income stream intrigues you? Can you figure out how to add it by the end of this year? And once you've secured that one, can you secure another one? One of my goals this year is to add another passive income stream. And passive income is taxed lower than earned income. And it's also a time saver because you're literally making money while you're sleeping. We want to eventually make more in passive income and make less in active income so we can reduce our tax burden, but also have more time to enjoy life. Number 6, ask for a credit limit. First of all, assuming that you don't carry a credit card balance, that you maintain your credit card utilization low, below 5%, maybe even at 1%, and you're very responsible when it comes to credit, now is a perfect time to call your credit card company, or even sometimes you can do it online, and ask for a credit increase. What's the purpose of that? That doesn't mean that you're going to start spending money that you don't have, but it gives you more access to credit and it make it handy. So why not get it? 7, automate your investments. If you have a brokerage account, for instance, whether you're investing in individual stocks, ETF, low-cost mutual funds, bonds, you can automate it to a certain extent. If you commit to investing on an ongoing basis, the same amount or more every week, and you can just dollar cost average. And if it's easy, if it's ETFs, low-cost mutual funds, bonds, you can just, every month, I'm going to invest, $500. As soon as that money hit my checking account, it gets transferred into the brokerage account. And then from there, it gets invested in the specific investment types that I selected. Now, if you're looking at individual stocks, you might decide that you only want to purchase if the stock is at this price or that price. But just getting the money out of your credit, out of your checking account into your brokerage account is half of the battle. And then there's also other ways that you can set automated investment depending on where the price point that you want to purchase the stock at. And that you can do that from your brokerage account. So look into it. All right, those are 7 things that you can implement this month to start the year strong financially and build wealth. Are you going to do it? All right, so the 7 tips are: number 1, review 2022 results to see how you did compared to the financial goals that you had set for 2022. Number 2, write down 3 to 5 financial goals for this year. Number 3, create or update your estate plan. Number 4, review your life insurance policy or policies and figure out whether your current coverage is adequate. Number 5, review your income streams. Number 6, ask for credit limit increase. Number 7, automate your investments. All right. I hope you enjoy this episode. Those are 7 things that you can implement this month to start the year off financially strong and build more wealth in 2023. All right. That's it for today. I will see you back here next week for another episode of the Dreamers Podcast. Bye.